And starting next Wednesday, no one under the age of 14 will be allowed to have social media accounts in the state of Florida. Florida's HB 3 will allow parents to decide whether their 14 and 15-year-olds can have social media and requires age verification on sites deemed, quote, harmful to minors. Erika Donalds is a guest faculty member at the Leadership Institute and the CEO of Optimage. She joins me now. Erika, thanks for getting up with us this morning, but I just got to know, how do you enforce something like this?
Well, that's the problem, and thanks for having me this morning. That's the problem with the patchwork of legislation that's come in the form of bans of all types in 10 different states, including, of course, now Florida, where we're not even going to really see enforcement of this law until it moves its way through the courts. You know, we have to be very careful, especially in the states, of running amok of both parents' rights and constitutional protections, and that's what we're seeing in the form of these lawsuits. That's why a federal action is so important to stop this patchwork and allow for better enforcement at the App Store level.
You know, currently 87% of 13 to 14-year-olds use YouTube, 55% use TikTok, 44% use Snapchat, and then 43% use Instagram. That's a huge chunk of kids, 13 and 14 years old. So when you think about this, I'm sure a lot of the parents don't mind it. I think, you know, a lot of people would think that it would be a good idea. But then you run into the issue of, do the kids think it's a good idea? What kind of issues is this going to cause? So what do you think about that?
Well, actually, in Florida, parents were polled about this law, and the vast majority of them prefer to have it in their own hands and in control, to educate the parents on how to monitor and make sure that their children are not overusing social media, but put that control in the hands of the parents and not necessarily enact these bans. I have 3 teenage boys myself. I know that social media can be a blessing and a curse, but when parents were polled about this in Florida, almost 80% of them said they would rather have control themselves, not necessarily an outright ban.
Yeah, like I said, I think a lot of people would agree that social media can be very dangerous, especially if your mind is too young to absorb everything that you're being thrown. But as far as this happening in Florida, what do you think this sets does this set the stage for the national stage? I mean, is that a precedent that we're going to see in the future? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? And is that a good idea?
As you said, it's very difficult to enforce. We have over 1 million apps launching every single year globally. How are they going to keep track of 1 million more social media, potentially, applications and be able to enforce this law? So Senator Mike Lee and others have supported action at the federal level that would put this parental right to restrict activities at the App Store level. So at the Apple App Store, at the Google App Store, that would limit the amount of times that your private information or your students' private information would need to be shared with these tech companies, and give parents better controls over all types of applications, not app by app. That could be very difficult, not just for parents to monitor, but certainly the companies as well. We have to consider, as we add regulations, it's going to inhibit innovation, which could come forth for things that are beneficial to students. And we know that social media can be beneficial when it comes to their social interaction, when it comes to education and learning about things, and also entrepreneurship. We see a lot of students starting businesses through social media. So we have to be careful about limiting these things too much where they can't even enjoy the benefits.
Yeah, you worry that is too much going to hurt them or put them at risk, and then is not enough, is that going to hamper their mind to grow? Erika Donalds, thank you so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.